Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm going to take a look at Solus XFCE. Yes, you heard it right. Solus just came out recently with a XFCE beta edition. This looks really interesting to me. Otherwise, why would I mess with it? Solus XFCE beta is a lightweight desktop that aims to be fast while still being friendly. I like that. I'm out at the website. Here we got our Solus XFCE beta, and I just can't wait to try this. So I'm just going to jump right in, download this baby, and load it in. Hey, here I am at the main menu. I got it loaded in now. This is the live ISO. So I'm just going to hit enter here, boot in, and then with some luck, I'll be in a live environment seeing the XFCE desktop for the first time on a Solus release. So this is kind of exciting for me. XFCE is a desktop I really like, and of the floating window manager type desktops, this is probably my favorite, and I see it kind of loading in now. Favorite being XFCE, that is. And so here we got our live environment, nice looking background in Solus style, and here we have our panel buttons here, live user, and then our Whisker menu. Cool. So I can't wait to get in here and try this. So I'm going to hit the Calamares installer here, just double click on it and launch it. And then we'll just get right to it. We'll just install this guy. And of course, Calamares is really easy to use. And you pretty much just go with the defaults. At least in my case, that seems to be the case. So we're going to go with American English. And the keyboard is okay, so that's all good. And then I'm going to select Erase Disk and just erase everything. And I think I'll just go with no swap here. Don't really need it here on a demo. With the ext4 file system. And then I'm just going to type in a username and then a password, and all the defaults are good here. So I'm just going to hit next, and that's all there is to it. So I'll hit install, and now it's going to install. I'm going to let it do its thing, and I'll be back when it's finished. Well, that didn't take long. That was quite quick, actually. Just a few minutes and boom. So I'm going to hit done here. And then I'm just going to go shut down. And then I'm going to remove the ISO. And then we'll boot into this. Now I'm booting in. And I think it's working. It looks like it booted. And I should be seeing a login screen. And there it is. So very cool. I'm just going to go ahead and authenticate. And that should take us into our actual environment. Looking good. So we got the same look as our live, but everything is installed now. And so here we got our panel items in our system tray. And here's our clock and calendar. Looking good. And that looks like we got our power buttons there for logging out and restarting, so forth. Here's our presentation mode, our power settings. Presentation mode will stop it from going into a screensaver mode or whatever, power saver. And then these are our settings for power saving if you want to adjust the settings and use the power save features. I like that that's all right there at a glance. And then of course our volume and mic control. And then these are our settings for our audio volume. We got access to everything here in our pulse audio settings. Looking good. And then over here we got our window items. So there's an easy access to our app finder. So we can just access here and just type something in and bring up an app like maybe GIMP. Nope, GIMP's not installed. So how about Ristretto? There we go. So there's our Ristretto image viewer, and that gives us quick access to it. So that's handy if you know what you're looking for. And then of course our file manager terminal and software center. And let's click on our web browser here just to see what that is. And it's Firefox. I was kind of expecting that. That's good. I'm going to go over here to help and about and just see the version. And it looks like the latest and greatest 121.0. Very good. So I'm liking that. And then of course it's got all your usual first steps here, which I'm just skipping them all. And there we go. And it looks like it's already tricked out in a dark theme. Very nice. I like that. I like having a dark theme available there. And then, of course, we got our extensions and not really seeing much installed by default, which is very good. Not cluttered with stuff. You can see in our Whisker menu here, In my previous video, I had noted that you can't resize this anymore by dragging it. And for me, that was a mystery. I didn't really understand why you couldn't do that anymore, because you could always resize that. And in fact, you have to go into the property settings and resize it using the, let's see, I want to go into properties, and you got to resize it right here using the width and height, which to me, I think that's a real pain in the butt. I don't like that you have to do that now, whereas it was so easy before. But here, I went and did a little research, and out at the website here, at the developer's website for Whisker menu, we got some comments in here. Please bring back the function to resize a menu using the mouse. Setting blindly with the width and heights, pixels, and settings is too much of an inconvenience to the user, and I agree. And so the developer's response was, I'm sorry, but I can't do that. This is a consequence of adding Wayland support. Resizing it with the mouse does not work in Wayland, and I am not willing to maintain multiple code paths. Well, fair enough, I guess. It's his product. Personally, I don't agree with that, though. Wayland's not really ready for prime time, and so why cater to the lowest common denominator is the way I look at it. Just get rid of Wayland support until Wayland's ready. But that's just my 2 cents. And then, of course, we got other opinions here, like Cardam Martin, or however you pronounce that. What is the point of Wayland support when it makes things worse? Agreed. And then the other guy, WTF, I don't care if Wayland doesn't support it. That's Wayland's problem. Please reopen the issue. This is a bug. It's also Wayland's issue. Apparently the developer has opted not to 2 code bases there, one for the X11 and one for Wayland. So I guess that's just something we're going to have to live with unless you want to revert to a previous version of the plugin that does not have Wayland support. So there you go. Mystery solved. I was a little baffled by that in the previous review video. And so that is the answer. No Wayland support. He's wanted to make this Wayland compatible now. So that's the sacrifice we have to make for people that want to use this under a Wayland environment. So that's a drag. But I guess I'll have to get over it. So let's adjust our Whisker menu a little bit. I like to tweak this because by default we have our categories on the wrong side, by my opinion. So for starters, I'm going to position categories on left. So that's a good choice. So when I go up here now, I got my categories over here on the left side. For me, that's more comfortable, so I like that. And then I'm going to go up to behavior because I want to change or switch categories by hovering. So now when I hover over the categories, they switch here. I'm liking that. And then just to give it a little more tweakness, I'm going to go to general here. And then I'm going to show as icons. That way when I come up here, the items in my list are now icons instead of in a list format. And I like that better. That just kind of, for me, has a more modern kind of look to it. So those are my tweaks there that I like to do. And then I like my icons just a little bit bigger, so I'm going to change small to normal, tweak it up one size, and the same for the categories. I'm going to go from smaller to small. And now they're bigger. Yay! But of course, I want to resize my Whisker menu, which is kind of a pain now, but it's not a deal killer, even though I don't like it. So I'm going to change that to 550. Menu width. Luckily, this is not something you have to do all the time, so it's not really the end of the world. Okay, so there I got my width, and I think that's good, 550. I might actually make that a little bit taller too, just to give it some more room in case it generates another category. So I'll make that 552. So now we have 550 by 550, and you got to click away to see the changes. And there you go. So that is comfortable. I like that. 550 by 550 works on this occasion here for these settings. Excellent. So now that we're in here, let's take a look at some of the installed apps. So we go up here, we start off with accessories, got our app finder and so forth. Here's our all applications. So that shows everything all at once, which is nice. And then we got our graphics, which is just LibreOffice Draw and Ristretto viewer. And then our internet, browser and Thunderbird. And then we got multimedia, Office. And Office, we got LibreOffice installed, and then our settings, and then system, task manager, gparted, print settings, and so forth. Let's jump into our Office, LibreOffice Calc here. This is always my theming test to see how well theming is. I guess I'll close the Whisker properties there. And when this opens up, let's see how the theming looks under dark theme. And it looks good, actually, right off the bat. And I'm not sure what icon theme that is, but everything looks fine. It's easy to see and so forth. If you want to tweak that, just go to Tools and then come down here to Options and select that. And then we want to select View. And here under Icon Theme, you can see that we have Seeper Dark. I guess that's how that's pronounced. So if you want to change that, here we have other choices like Breeze Dark. Since we're in a dark theme, I'm using dark, of course. And so there's our Breeze settings, and I like Breeze. To me, that's probably my favorite out of all of them. But you have others like Calibre. In this case, it would be Calibre Dark. And to me, that kind of looks the same. Looks good. The B might be a little bit different for bold, but I'm not sure. But I like Breeze Dark. That's all reliable for me. And so personally, that's kind of my favorite setting there. So looking good. I'm liking how the theming worked out there. That's cool. And then we got our Software Center easy access right here in the bar. It's also available under System in your Whisker menu. So here you can see right off the bat, we got our different categories. So we got a desktop software and theming, gaming, internet software. Let's take a look at gaming. So we've got our different categories, subcategories here: arcade games, strategy, platformer, main games. Wow, flight gear, that's a cool. I like that one. That's a flight simulator and a really good one, I think. See if we got some pictures here. Yeah, there's all kinds of aircraft you can fly out of here. It's quite realistic, I think. And even a helicopter, I don't remember that. I wonder if that's something new. But that's very cool. And there's a lot of different kinds of planes you can download or select. And it's so realistic, they even have a procedure where you can start up the plane according to the flight manual and go through all the steps if you want. Of course, they have a quick startup too for people like me that just want to get off the ground. But yeah, what a cool game. I haven't played that in about a year, but really like Flight Gear. And then if we go back again, we can go back and see more categories here. Console emulators, arcade games. Go back again, and then we're back at our main categories. Desktop software is another cool one. Here you can install additional desktops like KDE Desktop, i3 Desktop, Nice, GNOME, Budgie, Mate, and so forth. So those are easy ways to add additional desktops. Here's our internet software and more subcategories like networking, base, and utilities, management. And then here's our different browsers. We got Brave, Falcon, Firefox, GNOME Web, Qt Browser, Vivaldi. Nice. So lots of default choices there. And web applications, always a good category to have in there. And if we click on that, then we can see things like SMTube and Streamlink, Sunshine. And so back to our main categories again. Here's multimedia. So here under graphics, let's install something. So here under graphics, you can see a lot of recommended here. Blender, Darktable, Digicam, Eye of GNOME, which is a picture viewer, Flameshot, which is a screenshot utility. Nice. And there's GIMP. I might as well install that. So let me select that. And here we got a nice screenshot of GIMP there. And all I have to do is hit install. And it should be installing the latest stable version of GIMP, which is 2.10 is the time of this video. And it showed a list of dependencies there. So I just hit install, authenticating. And that's all it takes. And now we got this guy installing. And you can see it installs pretty fast. And there we go. Now our install changed to remove, which means it's in there. So we can go up here to graphics, and there's our GIMP. So it looks like it installed just fine. Clicking on it, it'll open right up, and we should be able to see our GIMP environment. And there we are. So I'm just going to maximize that there. Go to help. Whoops. If we go to help and about, we can see we're running 2.10.36. Very cool. And I believe that's the latest and greatest as well. Got our brushes over here and our different gadgets on this side. So I'm going to quit out of there. And then here we got our other options in our left-hand pane, like our updates. And I think we're already up to date here, but if I just hit that little refresh icon there and authenticate, it'll check for an update. And we can authenticate. Easy way to check for updates, and it's already up to date, which is good. Our installed apps, here's third-party apps that we can select from: Android Studio, Bitwig, Google Chrome. So these are proprietary apps. Google Earth, I like the play sim in that too. That's a nice app there, Google Earth. And there's IDEs here to choose from, like Idea, PyCharm, which is a nice Python. And of course, the Community Edition is the free version. Then we got Skype and Spotify, TeamViewer, Sublime Text, which is a nice text editor. And of course, WebStorm, which is a proprietary IDE for web development. And then under search, we can just type in something like Inkscape, and it comes right up. So there's an easy way to just search for a specific item if you already know what you're looking for. And you can just hit install there. But, instead of installing, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to do it from the console. So you can see installing something from the console. And then we got our settings here. So I would just keep those all at the default there, automatically check for updates and so forth, update frequency and all that. For me, personally, I just like the defaults. But let's open up our console here, and let's do a console install using Solus. So I'm going to just zoom in here real quick, slide that over a little bit. There we go. And now let's do eopkg install, and then Inkscape. So eopkg is the package manager command here. And then, I forgot sudo. How could I forget that? So sudo eopkg install Inkscape. There we go. That's better. And then just authenticate here, hit enter, and now it's installing. Excellent. And it's showing that there's extra packages. Do you want to continue? And you actually got to hit a Y. There's no default there, so I just hit Y for yes. And luckily it didn't make me spell it out, which is cool. So there we go. Now it's installing very quickly. And you can see here the version is 1.3.2-64. Very good. So that installed very fast, and now it should appear here, and there it is. So if I click on that, it should just come right up. And it is. So I'm just going to go with the default there for the canvas. And I'm just going to select a template here. You can also go with just a blank canvas. I typically use a template because I primarily use it to make thumbnails. So it looks like it themed out really nice. It looks good, 1.3.2. And the latest is from 2023, November 25th. Very good. So I'm going to quit there. And since we're in the terminal, I'm going to just up arrow and change Inkscape to HTOP so we can install HTOP. And then let's run it and just kind of see our resource usage real quick. So here we go, and only 609 megs, and that's not bad at all. So it looks like the resource usage is good here, and I would say within normal parameters. And so far I'm seeing a lot of steadiness here in XFCE with Solus. I'm having a really good experience, and I wouldn't even know this was a beta. So I just right-clicked on my desktop so we can take a look at our desktop settings, and you can see the wallpapers populating in here. So I can easily change our wallpapers right here, and that's kind of a nice one. That's a dark wallpaper with a dark theme, and I kind of like that actually. Here we got some mountains. That's a nice look too, a little alternative to the default paper. And then these are our different desktops, and you can see that the wallpaper is the same on all the desktops. So it does switch them all at the same time on the desktops. Of course, we can individualize that too as well. And then that's a nice background. I kind of like that with the flowers there. Cool. And then we can come down. Let's see what else we got here. So that's a nice one there. Kind of looks like a gel or something. And then beautiful. A nice fall scene there. And we can uncheck apply to all workspaces. And now if I hit this, then it'll just be specific to the workspace I'm on, which is workspace 1. But if I go to workspace 2, now you can see the default wallpaper is still there. So that's how you can be specific to your workspaces if you want to have unique wallpaper on different workspaces. So now I'm on workspace 2, and I'm right-clicking again, selecting desktop settings. And again, I can just select a different wallpaper and change it here on workspace 2. And so I could just pick something like this orangutan. Wow. Hey, is that me? So workspace 1, workspace 2. So now we can switch between a kitten and an orangutan. And yes, the resemblance is uncanny. That's gotta be me. Or maybe that's my Uncle Frankie. And also you can change the background if you want it to cycle through the pictures automatically like a screen show, slideshow. And then we have our different icons here. So for example, we can set it to a single click to open an item. So then all we have to do is single click on, for example, the home folder, and it'll open it right up. And so no double click necessary. If you kind of like it being treated like a link, that's how you can do it. Or uncheck it if you want to double click. And I'm going to expand this out a little bit. These are the different icons that are showing up by default here on the desktop. And you can see that home and trash are there. If you want to add file system, that'll turn it on. Now it's off. And we can turn them all off if you want. So you can just select whatever it is you want to show up here of the defaults that are listed, which is nice. And then of course you can change the sizes here. You can make your icons bigger, crank it way up if you want, have big icons, or you can back it off and make them kind of tiny, like that. And I think the default was up around 48. So I think 48's good. I like the default actually. And then here's our orientation. So we can make it top left horizontal if we want them in a horizontal position, starting at top left. Or we can start over at top right and have them vertical. So now they're over here and so forth. And same with the bottom. You can go bottom left horizontal. And now they're starting at the bottom and they'll work their way up. Personally, I like the top left horizontal. So you have rows starting from the top. I think that's cool. So I'm going to go with that, I think, personally. And then, of course, we got our Thunar here with our default theming. I'm going to go into our settings since we're on the subject of default. Let's go into our appearance and see what kind of options we got. Not a whole lot of options. It looks like Kogier dark and light and standard. And then we got our icons. So here with icons, primarily Papyrus. And then Solus SC. So I think Papyrus Dark is probably going to be my choice. They all look pretty much the same. Of course, icons and styles can be downloaded from gnomelook.org or xfce-look.org. And you can get those packages and install them quite easily. And then here we got our About Me. So here you can kind of change details of your name. But you can't really easily change your avatar from here. You would have to select a downloaded picture that already exists. But there's an easier way to do that. There's another setting for that, which is right here, users and groups. So if we go in here, all we got to do is just select this, and we got pre-selected avatars that we can choose from. So we could just scroll down the list and see something that appeals to us. And I'm going to go with the kitten again. I like that. That's a nice picture there. And then, of course, we got our other settings here, like password settings. You can set a language if you want, have an auto login if you don't care about security. And, of course, to do that, you want to hit unlock here, and then you can authenticate, and that will unlock those settings. So you got to have administrator privilege, and that's what this account type is administrator. If you create another user and you want to restrict their privileges, just select standard for a standard user. And then here where you can change your password, set automatic login, which I would not recommend if you have anything that's sensitive. And then we have our groups here, so you can manage groups if you're a little more advanced. And I'm just going to lock that back up just for security. And then you can see my profile picture up there now with a little kitten, and that also shows up at the login screen too. Then here's our window manager tweaks. So my favorite one of the window manager tweaks is the opacity of windows during move. So when you move it, it becomes more transparent. And I backed it off to roughly 90%. And for me, that's a nice, comfortable spot. You can also do that with your window decorations. So if you can make it like really clear. So if you want some transparency up there on your top window decoration there, you can do that too for an additional cool look. Nice. But for me, the transparency during move is my favorite personally. And then other settings we got here are display settings. So here you can change your resolution if you wish. Just going to scooch out of the way. And so we got our settings there. And then, of course, we got our session and startup settings, which is another good one. So we can go to application auto start, and you can check and uncheck anything you want here in your auto startup if you want to customize things, and even add your own script if you want and specify the command. So if you're a little bit more advanced, again, you got that option there. And then, of course, our pulse audio, which we were already in before, and then our default applications. So if we had more than one web browser, you would see that in the selector, and you could select a different one. Same with your email client there. And then under utilities, if you had alternate file managers, and then others, of course, you can choose all kinds of defaults there under that. And then we got our workspaces. So by default, we got 4 workspaces here. And speaking of workspace, I'm still on workspace 2. I forgot about that. So I guess I could move these back over to workspace 1 and just have everything on 1. So by right-clicking on the desktop and then selecting, where is it? There's move to another workspace, and I'm not seeing it. There it is. Okay, so workspace 1, and then we can do that with this window too. Right-click on it, and then move to workspace 1. And now they're both over to workspace 1, so when I click on workspace 1, we got everything here. And of course, we still got the, do you want to arrange your icons? And that was selected apparently from workspace 1. So I'm just going to cancel that because we already did that. So excellent. And of course, I can close that because that was open from when we were in workspace 1. Those were the desktop settings. So I'm going to just close that window and slide this around and enjoy the transparency. So I'm going to just resize our Thunar here, just kind of shrink that down a little bit and slide that over here. Let's add something to the side pane. So let's right click, select documents, and then add to side pane. And now you can see our documents folder. You can also drag. So like the downloads folder here, I just drag that and slid it underneath documents. I think you can even slide the documents within the side pane as well. So I like the flexibility with Thunar. It's probably one of my favorite file managers here. And then we got our view settings on side pane. I always like to have the image preview activated there. So that is a nice feature. One of my favorites actually to have by default. Also, another thing I like to tweak is if you go down here, you can have list view by default. I like list view personally over icon view. I like my columns to always be kind of close together like this. By default, they'll expand automatically according to the longest file name that you got or directory name. So to keep it in one spot, you just go under view and then select configure columns. And when you go here, you can see by default, automatically expand columns as needed is checked. So if you uncheck that, then the columns will always stay in the same place every time you go into Thunar instead of having your date modified pushed way off out of view if you're not maximized there. So that's a setting I like to tweak as well. So there we go. So I'm just going to scooch down here a little bit just to get in the corner again. Nice. Here we go. So I think it's about time for my 2 cents or 2.5 cents. Solus XFCE desktop beta. I would never know this is a beta. It is smooth as silk and working beautifully. And I am so happy to see XFCE on Solus. Personally, XFCE is my favorite floating window managed desktop. And to see it on such a cool and stable distro like Solus, I think is just irresistible. Big double kudos to Solus for adding XFCE here. And their beta is amazing. It's smooth as silk. And if there are issues in there, I haven't found it yet. So I am liking this. I am definitely giving this a double thumbs up for having XFCE on Solus. It works beautifully. It's themed beautiful. Could probably use a few more themes in there by default, icon themes and so forth, but what they have by default already looks fantastic. So I'm good with it anyway. Solus XFCE. I am really liking this. Definitely something, I think I would even recommend this as a beta. And I'm sure at the rate they're going, this is going to be out of beta quite soon. Maybe even by the time you see this video, who knows? But I'm liking it. I would use it absolutely myself. I've always thought Solus has put out amazing distros, always very stable, very polished. Can't really say enough good things about them. Yes, XFCE. If you want to give it a try, I recommend getting the ISO and loading it in a virtual environment or a spare laptop if you have one available, and just try it out and see how you like it. And with that, I hope it was helpful, all this babbling that I did and this short tour of Solus XFCE desktop. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.